Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I wanted to make a video basically talking about the things in the new Scream film, Scream 6, that I would like to see. Of course, I have my copy of Scream 5 right here. I agree with Jeremy Johns and many people, this should have been called 5 Cream. It should have. Because now we have, as I said in my previous video, for my top 5 anticipated horror films for 2023, we have Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream, Scream 6. Anyway, I am not the biggest Scream fan, right? I love Part 1. Part 2 I think is fucking trash. Part 3 ain't good, really, but I like it better than Part 2. You know, I did my ranking video, was very controversial last year. Part 4 is okay. At the time, for a long time before I saw Scream 5, when it finally came to DVD and I finally got to see it, Scream 4 was probably my second favorite in the franchise, even though I'd seen it like one time in the theaters, maybe 2 times in my entire life, since it had come out like 10 years ago, or longer. I was never a big fan of Scream 4, but it was better than Scream 2 and Scream 3. And Scream last year, the 2022 film, Scream 5, is what I'm going to call it, I was surprised by how much I liked it. I thought it had a lot going for it. I love how we finally took the focus away from Gale, Sidney, and Dewey over to some new characters. We had some throwbacks. We had cool things like the deputy lady with the blonde hair from part, I think just 3, not part 2, but part 3. I could be wrong. I'm not a fan of those films. As you can tell, I don't watch them very frequently. We had a lot of throwbacks to Scream. You know, the series, overall. We had a lot of comeback characters, a lot of cool references that I really, really liked. But Scream 5 fell short in a lot of ways. The Scream 6 trailer recently came out, and I think it looks great. I think it's really, really cool looking. I like the new direction we're going. I think, for me personally, because this was basically greenlit the day that Scream 5 came out and the kind of reception Scream 5 had, it seems like most people that I talk to really love Scream 5, or really, really like it at least, or really appreciate it and think it's very different. And I'm very much one of those people. But to me personally, it seems very consistent when I talk to people online that pretty much all of us hated the fucking motivation for the killers in Part 5. I won't spoil that for you too much. I will tell you the motivation, though, because I think it's important. They immediately made it about toxic fandom, which in other words is, we're gonna show for fucking Disney. We're gonna say that the audience are the problem about everything and call them toxic constantly. If you're using the word toxic to insult anybody, or to address somebody that you're not talking directly to, you're a fucking child. And I mean that. I think that's stupid. I think it's ridiculous. I think it all boils down to, you don't like what they have to say, and vice versa. They probably don't like what you have to say, but I think using the word toxic is kind of embarrassing, because I think of like waste and stuff, like toxic waste. I don't know if that's where that came from, as like an insult or what, but it's embarrassing, frankly. Stop using the word fucking toxic. But anyway, anybody who saw this movie, Scream 5, had their eyes probably roll so hard, unless they were the ones in like the Sonic fandom of, or something like that were trying to use the word toxic fandom to describe everybody who disagreed with them about everything. The Star Wars fandom is a great example of that. I'm a massive Star Wars fan, but I fucking hate what Disney did. They killed it. It's dead. No matter what anybody says about Mandalorian or any of that other shit they've been putting out, they've killed it. It's dead. People hate it. People don't want anything to do with it, and kids especially boys, don't want anything to do with Star Wars anymore, which is extremely sad to me, because I grew up wanting to be a Luke Skywalker when I was a kid. That's a whole other story, though. Scream 5 and the toxic fandom thing, that almost ruined the film for me. I haven't watched it since last year, when I bought the film on DVD, the copy I just showed you, but I really loved it. I really think everything in it, the new changes, the new directions, all of that, me personally, I love that about it. I like the fact that our 3 main leads from the other 4 films, that we really don't do anything with them. They're just repetitive all the time. We finally pushed them out of the way. We finally shoved them out of the way, had them a little involved, but they really don't come into the film until about halfway through. It's almost a 2-hour-long film, or right about that mark. They don't even come in until about an hour in. It's mainly focused on Jenna Ortega and the other character, who are sisters, the Carpenter sisters. And I immediately, when I watched this film, after seeing the opening, I think Jenna Ortega is the one that gets attacked in the opening, that was super effective. And I love Jenna Ortega in general. I liked her before this film. Great actress. Phenomenal actress. Everybody knows her from things like Wednesday, the new Addams Family show. She's extremely talented. Extremely talented. She's phenomenal in Scream 5. Now, the other sister I really like as well, the older one. Excuse me, it's a little late at night. The Carpenter sisters, to me, are extremely relatable. I like them a lot more than I ever liked Sidney Prescott, Gale Weathers, or Dewey. It's like that for me. I'm sorry, not being a massive Scream guy. Outside of the first film that I love and think is a masterpiece, even for Wes Craven's career, who I'm not like obsessed with by any means. That movie gets so much right. It really does. Scream 5 gets a lot right. The kills are kind of gory and kind of brutal. Not really anything super special, but they have their moments. They have their effectiveness. And the film does a better job, to me, than part 2, 3, and 4 do about building tension more and more. And I think that's a compliment, because that's better than 3 Wes Craven sequels. That says a lot, in my opinion. For a man who has a lot more experience than the filmmaker who made these movies, or made 5 and 6, that says a lot to me. Scream 5 I had no excitement for, at all. I think a lot of people were like me about that. Even horror fans that are die-hard slasher fans, I think, were not excited for this, because it looked like shit when it was coming out. And the reception wasn't amazing, you know? But Scream 5 really grew on me. The more I think back to it, the more I can't wait to rewatch it. In the next coming weeks, I'm going to rewatch it for part 6 before 6 comes out, as well as part 1. I'm not watching 2, 3, and 4. They're not going to touch anything for those films. They're not going to bring anything new in. But part 1 and 5 I will watch before Scream 6 comes out. And I'm excited to go back and visit 5 again, because I really had a good time watching it until the revelation about the killers and the toxic fandom bullshit. But what do I want from part 6? Well, let's talk about the trailer briefly. They basically had this film set up to take place in New York City, I believe. Gale Weathers is going to be there. Dewey is dead, of course. That's a spoiler. Probably should have warned you, but you probably saw Scream 5 by now. Dewey's dead. I'll say it again. Gale Weathers is kind of hanging out with like a group of kids, and like we knew Kirby from part 4 is coming back. Hayden Panettiere is in this. You know, I haven't seen her in anything for a long time because of her drug addiction stuff that people talk about, and she talked about too. I'm glad she's doing well. I really am. I was never a fan of her when she was super popular. But seeing her here, the little brief moment we do, and what she was like in part 4 when I rewatched that for the first time in ages last year for the reviews I did for the channel, I really like her a lot. She's a really good actress. She has range, too. She can do different things. Comedy, kind of heroic stuff like she did on Heroes. You know, she has her moments. I'll give her that. But they're basically in the trailer on like a subway in NYC, New York City. It's kind of late, so I'm starting to slur my words, guys. I'm sorry. But that subway that they're on, they're kind of stuck in, you know, it's a subway. You're kind of stuck in general with the germs, the homeless, all of that. They see a lot of like horror fans. I assume this is either taking place on Halloween or it's going to be like a horror convention type of thing. I heard somebody throw out there into the ether on the internet. I think that's kind of cool too, if that's the idea. It would kind of match the themes of part 5, you know, because I think a lot of convention folks are just obnoxious a lot of the time. That's just my personal opinion. Just saying. I've been to conventions, cons, as they're called by the kids nowadays. I've been to that. But there's a lot of weirdos that go to that as well. I know quite a few of them. So anyway, while they're there are people dressed up like Jason Voorhees, wearing a hockey mask. One guy's dressed up like Freddy, he has the glove. And there's another guy dressed up like Pinhead. Yeah, Pinhead from Hellraiser, like the Doug Bradley one, not the new one. So, basically, while they're there, they see somebody wearing the Ghostface mask and the costume. And every time the lights flicker on the subway, this person gets closer and closer to them and then eventually starts attacking them. Now, there's another part of the trailer, too, that talks about Gale, and it's almost like she already knew about this. People are speculating she might be the killer. I think it's a little bit much. But Gale apparently somehow knows about like this cult that she finds, where there's a lot of Ghostface costumes. I'm assuming those are the costumes of all of the killers that have been around over the movies. I think people counted them too. I think there's 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, 9. I assume there'd have to be 9. I think there was less, though. I think it was like 5. But even if we're starting a new idea, like if this is a brand new cult that are nobody that we know, right? I'd be cool with that. I'd be so cool with that. I hope Stu comes back as a killer for this. All of us wanted it. I really want it to happen. I'm sorry, Matthew Lillard is too good of an actor for you guys to not bring him in. Love that guy. So underrated. I don't care if it's as Shaggy or if it's as Stu, from Scream. I want him back. That's all I'm saying. If you have a new cult of killers, I'd be super down for that. If we're bringing back, like, there's somebody who's inspired by all these people, maybe like a detective or something. Maybe if we have a killer who's never been brought up ever in the whole series, we're not going for like a whodunit thing out of a group of people like we do for every single Scream film. If we don't go that route and just have it be somebody we never knew, I'd be down for that too. This whole constantly, the staple of Scream being trying to throw you off every single time. There's a reason the first film in the franchise is so masterful and so great. With Kevin Williamson's writing, Wes Craven's writing, his directing, all of that stuff. That was the best version of Scream that will ever exist. As much as I love the TV show. I love Season 1 and Season 2 of the MTV TV series for Scream. I think it's fantastic. I love it. It's very different from the films. But I never saw Season 3. When Queen Latifah owned the rights to Scream. Yes, that happened, if you didn't know that. I think they sold them now. Or she sold them, I mean. But yeah, that happened. Queen Latifah there for a while owned the rights to Scream. She might still. I don't think she does, though. I think she sold it off to get these movies made. But Scream 6... I would love to see us do something different with that, because we were not afraid to do something so different with Part 5. And of course, this film's already going to be different because of Neve Campbell, the money thing, which I think is fucking ridiculous. But, it might be more to it than we actually know. It could be a very low ball, but maybe she was barely going to be in it anyway. Maybe it was going to be like a small cameo and she got offended by that. I think it's the right direction, frankly. I'm sick of Sidney. I'm sick of Gale and Dewey. I like them to an extent, depending on what person we're talking about. But the actors and actresses, Courtney Cox is cool, David Arquette's cool. I don't give a shit about Neve Campbell. Never have. I like her in the first movie, and that's literally it. I think Sidney is an idiot most of the time. But that's just me. That's just me. I think they did some cool things with her in Part 4, Part 5. But outside of that, no. She's very one note, and so is Neve Campbell herself. Which is fine. But still. It's already going to feel different because of her not being here. Whether you like that or not, it's going to feel different. Period. It just will. I'm not super hurt one way or another. I just want a good movie. And I really think Scream 6, if it doesn't focus on the stupid toxic fandom shit and we just have a straight up thriller, like maybe a detective gone rogue who collected all these costumes and stuff, if we do something like that, or have Stu come back, or maybe have a Stu and random detective guy team up. I would love that shit. I would so be down for that, dude. There's no other word for it. But that's the direction I think this film has to take. I really do. This whole constantly having a group of kids, which this one does that as well, a new group of kids, hanging out with Kirby. Somehow Kirby's involved here. She's a lot older than the kids, like a good 10, 15 years, so how's that going to happen? How does she get involved here? How does Gale Weathers know these people? Why is Gale in NYC? What's going to happen with all that? I want to know, and I'm curious. I'm really excited for all those aspects of this movie. I think they're making another one, too. I think Scream 6 or 7 is supposed to be announced as well. When Scream 5 was such a big hit, like the weekend it came out, I think they immediately said they were making 2 more. Doesn't always happen, but that's what was announced, I believe. Contractually, I believe that's what was said. And I'm cool for that. If we got Scream 7 next year, I'd be shocked by that. If we have to wait 2 years, that's one thing, but if we got it next year, because we just got Scream 5 last January, and then we have Scream 6 now in this March, it took like 14 months to make it, and that's great. I'm really excited about that. I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to talk about with this. I want really gory, brutal kills. Scream has never been known for the gore. It really hasn't. Scream 1 has gore. The rest are really kind of milquetoast about that. I want more. Dewey's kill in Part 5 was pretty cool, but it was also kind of like it felt like a fan of Call of Duty games wrote that kill, Like, had to go over the top. He couldn't just be, like, stabbed to death in a really gory, horrific, sad fashion. No, we had to, like, slice and dice this dude like a dead deer, down the front and down the spine at the same time. As a guy, it's pretty horrible to watch. You know, it seemed like it'd be hurtful, very hurtful. But it's an honor line I really like a lot. I think it's great. I want a lot out of Scream 6. It looks good. The setting is cool. I like the NYC thing. I think it's a very big difference from everything else we've seen in this franchise. Not that I think different is always good, but I think it's good here. I think Scream is the one that warrants that, in my personal opinion. Not Halloween, with Halloween Ends. Not fucking Chucky when we did Seed of Chucky. Not fucking... What is another example? Friday the 13th with Jason Goes to Hell. That's some bad shit. You know, Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 3 type shit. Don't do that. Don't do that. But Scream 6 is the place where I think we should do something different. I think so far they seem to be going that route. I like the Carpenter sisters much more than most characters in the franchise. I'm excited to see what happens with them. I would also like to see Skeet Ulrich. Or Ulrich? Skeet Ulrich, I believe is how you say his name. I think it's how my mom pronounces it. I don't know if it's true or not. I'd like to see him play a big thing here. Of course, he's kind of played up in Scream 5 since he's just an imaginary friend. His daughter, Sam, I think is her name, Sam Carpenter, she has schizophrenia. And she imagines him a lot of the time. She imagines him telling her things, telling her to kill people. Of course, she kills one of the killers at the end of that first film, or Scream 5, because of Skeet Ulrich in her brain. But he's portrayed as a good guy in that movie. He's a fucking terrible person. He killed a lot of people in Part 1 with Stu. Like, what? I would like to see a lot more of Skeet Ulrich. Fuck, I can't say the name. Skeet Ulrich in this movie. Or Ulrich. I think it's Ulrich, though. I would like to see a lot more of him here. Whether as a good guy or a bad guy, I'd just like to see him more. It'd be really wacky if somehow they brought Skeet back. He got shot in the face, though. I don't think he's coming back. But it'd be crazy, wouldn't it, if, like, Skeet Ulrich, or Ulrich, whatever the fuck his name is, however you say it, I think it's Skeet Ulrich, though, if he just came out of the darkness and was the guy collecting all those Ghostface costumes, what if they try to pull some shit like, oh, he has a twin brother? That'd be a terrible, terrible twist I think a lot of us would be angry over. But what if they had that? What if Sam in her brain, who had denied her father all this time, and then Scream 5, she kind of came around and was like, oh, sometimes he can be right, even though he's not. He's a bad guy. What if in this film they flip that on its head, and now he's around, you know? A lot of people are speculating that Sidney could be the killer. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want Neve Campbell out of this. I don't want her anywhere near it. I don't need her. It's not because I hate her guts or anything like that. It's not because I'm a sexist or anything like that. I don't care about her. I'm sorry, I don't. Gail is enough for me, for this movie. Because Courtney Cox, I think, is better and more talented, in my opinion. Wow, it's getting daylight outside. I need to go to bed. It's been a weird day. I got a lot of sleep in the middle of the day today. It's a Saturday. What did you expect? It's Sunday now, but it was Saturday. And, yeah, I got some sleep. I was really tired. I had a rough night last night, too. Anyway, with all that being said, though, Scream 6, I'm really looking forward to. I think the same team that brought us Scream 5, with its flaws and its really, really great moments about 75 or 80% of the time, I really like that film. I think I'll like this one, too. I hope. Hopefully they don't go in some weird Halloween Ends direction. I hope they don't even try to comment on it. That scares me a lot. I really don't want them to touch that. Don't remind the audience in the middle of the fucking movie about what the hell they did in Halloween Ends. Please do not bring that heartache back. I don't even hate the movie. I have a lot of things about Halloween Ends I hate, but a lot of things I really like and love about it too, like the music. But please don't remind us all of that pain in the middle of Scream 6. Don't do it. You're just going to make people mad. Don't even talk about it. Don't comment on it. Nothing. But do not, I warn you of this, Hollywood, makers of Scream 6, everybody, for the love of God, do not bring up Halloween Ends and then bring up toxic fandom. You will lose everybody and people will roast the hell out of you on the internet, which is a very dangerous thing sometimes. That's a joke. But please don't do that. You're just going to upset people like myself. You're going to make us more mad. Anyway, with all that being said, I'm rooting for Scream 6. I did my top 5 anticipated films for horror films for 2023 in the previous video before this. And I basically said that this is basically my top 3. I'm really, really excited for the film. I think it looks good, and I really have some faith that it will be good to some extent. And I hope it's a good time, basically. I really want to enjoy myself and have just a really good flick. I love Terrifier 2. I recently saw that a couple of weeks back when it came to DVD, and I finally picked it up. And I want more slashers like that. Not with the extreme gore. That was hardcore, dude, though. That was great. But, like, I want movies that are going to make you emotionally have to think and get you really engaged and invested. I feel like Scream 6 is the ultimate breeding ground to do that. Bring up Terrifier in the Scream series. That's something that just popped in my head. Do that. That's a really smart idea. For them and for you. Because it won't just act like you're ignoring it, being an indie film or something. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Scream 6. That's what I want out of it. I want a Detective Stu team-up or something like that, or just Stu, or some rando. I don't want anybody in the group of friends to be the killer. It always seems like they try to go with 2, except for part 3. I don't want that either. I'm so bored of seeing that shit every single time over and over again. I'm glad Kirby's here. I hope we get a lot of moments with her. It's weird seeing that her and Gale will be in this, you know? And not Sydney, but still. Oh well. All that being said, though, have you guys seen Scream 5? I hope you have before you watch this video. This is filled with spoilers for Scream 5. But are you excited for Scream 6? I'd love to hear that down below, too. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. What do you think should happen, shouldn't happen, all that down below, too. Because it sounds like a cool flick to me, but I know there's a lot of people out there who are not for this movie right now. And I get why. After Part 5's whole motive for the killers thing, the toxic fandom thing, I get it. I really do get why people are mad over that and a little worried over that. But I think more people are excited for this film than really it's being talked about, frankly. And again, I think we're getting a Scream 6, or 7, excuse me, after this year. I don't know if it'll be next year or not, like I said, but I hope we get it. I hope it's a full-fledged trilogy, and I hope it's smart. Because it seems like so far they're on the right track, just not perfect yet, you know? Anyway, have you seen Scream 5? Are you going to see Scream 6? I'd love to hear all your thoughts and comments down below, guys. Thank you for watching. God bless you all. What are you looking forward to possibly being in Scream 6? What do you think could be the best direction to take that film? I'd love to hear that down below, too. By the way, final question. Do you think one of the Carpenter sisters should die? I mean, this is part 2. Maybe they'll do a reference to something else that's not horror, that's kind of horror-themed in a lot of ways, which was Empire Strikes Back. Maybe we could have one of the sisters die. I don't know. What do you think about that idea? I don't know if I'm for it or against it. I kind of hope it doesn't happen because I really like both of the Carpenter sisters. But what do you think? I'd love to hear all that down below, too. Anyway, what are you guys thinking? I'd love to hear your thoughts. God bless you guys. Put them down below. All your thoughts and ideas. All that. The ideas especially is kind of a cool idea, you know? I'd love to hear what you guys would recommend the series do. What you think would be the best points and twists that you think could be developed. Would you like to see Stu back? You know, let me know all that down below, too. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you all once again. I guess I'll see you in March when we talk about the film, when it comes out. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very, very interesting. Anyway, see you guys then. God bless you. Goodbye.